Hi guys, James again, back with another video. This one came together pretty quick. I had another one or two that I had lined up, but I had rewatched one of my all-time favorite movies last night and decided it deserved a place on a number of lists that I could have done, but I forgot about it. And it's one that I only watch occasionally, but I love it so much. And there was, I think, a couple other ones on this list that could have fit onto other ones, but again, I overlooked them for one reason or another. Anyway, they found themselves together on this list, so yay. So this is the top 10 remakes, and a number of things could factor into this. It could be a movie that you may know, you never knew it was a remake. It could be just a movie that you aren't aware of that is really good, according to your opinion, and it just happens to be a remake. So there's many on this list that I haven't seen the originals or several originals that it was based on, but I love this version. It just happens to be a remake. So that worked out for this category, top 10 remakes. All right, so we will start with number 10. Number 10 is a film from 2011. It's called The Howling Reborn. And it serves as sort of, well, they say, the 8th film in the Howling film series. I've only seen, prior to this one, I'd only seen the first one, The Howling, the Joe Dante film back in the 80s. And this one sort of serves as a reboot. It's a brand new story, but I'm considering it a remake because reboots can kind of be remake, reboot. You kind of swap those terms out however you like. And this one, it starts with character Catherine Kidman living with her husband and kid, and she's apparently attacked. She's attacked and apparently killed by a creature, a werewolf. And then 18 years later, her son Will, living with the widowed father, discovers strange things starting to happen to him, like he cuts himself and it heals instantly. And then his mother reemerges into his life to try and explain his werewolf heritage to him. But she's not, by any stretch of the terms, what you'd call a good parent or a good person. And so he's struggling with dealing with her and with this girl in school that he's always had a crush on. And so you've got the love triangle dynamics in a high school setting, and then you've got the werewolf murderous mother trying to bring her son into the fold with her, and if not, probably threaten his life or kill his friends or whatever. And I had picked this one up I remember way back in the day, Zellers, way back in the day, 9 years ago, when Zellers was still around. I remember picking it up there. It's like, oh, Howling Reborn, yeah. Didn't cost too much, checked it out, and I really liked it. And it had a good soundtrack. Has the slow version of Don't Fear the Reaper by the band Gus that appears in Scream, the original Scream, and on the soundtrack, which I have. And there's also a song by the guy's name escapes me, but the song is called "The Guy That Says Goodbye to You Is Out of His Mind," and it's a fantastic song. But it was a good movie. It was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. It was really well done. The actors that you'd recognize in it would be, let me see, Ivana Milicevic. She's been in several movies. You might recognize Lindsay Shaw. She was in another movie produced by WWE, starring Luke Evans. It's called No One Lives. which I've been trying to find a list to put. No, I have a list to put that on. And yeah, those would be the main people you'd recognize. The only two you'd really recognize. But it was good. It was good. The Howling Reborn. Excuse me. Number 9, we have a film from 2009 called Dorian Gray. Remake of the, I believe, there was a picture of Dorian Gray, and I think it's from the 40s. I haven't seen that one either, but I plan to. And this one I picked up because I've always been fascinated with the Oscar Wilde tale, Dorian Gray, Portrait of Dorian Gray, Picture of Dorian Gray. And while I consider the character Dorian Gray in the TV show Penny Dreadful to be my favorite portrayal of him by Reeve Carney, I do like this one a lot because it has Ben Barnes from Westworld and other movies, and you've got Colin Firth in there. You have Ben Chaplin. I thought it was James Frain for some reason. No, it's Colin Firth, Ben Chaplin, Rachel Hurdwood, Rebecca Hall, Fiona Shaw's in there, Miriam Dabo. And it's essentially, Dorian is this rich guy and just lives his life however he wants. And at one point, he commissions a portrait of himself to be painted. And he soon after discovers that he has stopped aging. And while he doesn't age, the portrait gradually becomes over the years more and more decrepit. He stays the same age. So whatever should be happening to him happens to this portrait because he essentially sold his soul to have eternal life, just as long as nothing happens to the painting. So it's him living his life while other people get old and die, and it has a sort of twisted effect on him. And I thought Ben Barnes did a great job playing Dorian Gray, and Colin Firth always does a great job, and Ben Chaplin too. So, Dorian Gray. Number 8. Now this is it's a mini series from 1997. But I considered it on this movie because you watch in one chunk, just like the miniseries for It or Tommyknockers, any of the other Stephen King ones. This was Stephen King's The Shining, and this was one that Stephen King had a hand in producing, writing, making, and it was his preferred version of adaptation of his novel. The previous one being Stanley Kubrick's movie The Shining, which is fine, but well made, but Stephen King's certainly not a fan of it, and I think, yeah, like I said, it's fine, but I thought this one was a far better version of the story. Not that I've read the book, but the other one, it was good, but this one was pretty creepy. I saw this one when I was in college, and you've got Steven Weber from Wings and stuff playing Jack Torrance. You got Rebecca De Mornay as his wife. Melvin Van Peebles as Dick Halloran, and there's an uncredited voice performance by Miguel Ferrer as, I think it's the voice of Jack Torrance's father. And yeah, Elliot Gould is in there. And if you know the story, the Overlook Hotel and the writer bringing his family to the hotel and meeting the ghosts that occupy the hotel and him slowly going mad and murders and stuff like that. And it's just this one's just so much creepier, especially the woman in the bathtub in room, was it 213 or something, I think? The infamous room. Yeah. Anyway, far better adaptation of The Shining, in my opinion, just mine. That being said, the movie they made, the sequel to The Shining, Doctor Sleep, amazing. Theatrical or director's cut. Whichever one you pick, both amazing. Anyway, Stephen King's The Shining. Number 7, we have a Shakespearean adaptation from 2001 called O. And this is the version of Othello. Now, I know there had been a few versions made before, black and whites and silent films and stuff like that. This one was made 2001 in a high school setting. And this was directed by Tim Blake Nelson, who's a director but a more well-known actor. And this one stars Josh Hartnett, Mekhi Phifer, Julia Stiles, primarily. You've also got Martin Sheen in there, Eldon Henson, Rain Phoenix, John Hurd. And so you essentially got it's like kids in high school on a basketball team, and you've got Mekhi Phifer playing Odin, and he gets involved in a relationship with Julia Stiles, who plays Desi. I think the character was it Desdemona, maybe? I don't know. I haven't ever read Othello, and you've got Josh Hartnett playing Hugo instead of the character of Iago, who is playing them off each other. And this would be, I want to say it's the first and only time I've seen Josh Hartnett play a villain. And he was pretty sinister in this movie. I had never seen him play a bad guy before, but he did it really well because he's a great actor. He'd do well in any role. But yeah, it's a well-told story, well-made movie, and another one that makes you want to maybe seek out the original versions, or at the very least, seek out the play. And yeah, I'll read it one of these days. So that was O. Number 6, we have a film from 2007 called Sleuth, and this is a remake of a movie called Sleuth from 1972. And this one stars Jude Law and Michael Caine. And Michael Caine appeared in the original, Jude Law and Michael Caine as the younger guy, the older guy, facing off against each other. And in the 1972 version, it was Michael Caine as the younger guy facing off against Laurence Olivier. Another one I haven't seen, but this one was great because it's largely just the two actors. And you've got Jude Law, who's involved and in love with Michael Caine's wife. And he is trying to find a way to, take him down, not win him over, but find a way to get his wife away from him. So like, there's even a scene where Jude Law shows up in disguise as a detective, questioning Michael Caine's character. And it took me a few minutes to realize that it was Jude Law. They did such a great job disguising him as someone else. But he's there under the guise of someone else to get more information out of Michael Caine's character. Apparently Kenneth Branagh has an uncredited role in the movie, but it's been so long since I watched it, I had forgotten. I just remember Jude Law and Michael Caine, but it's one I have to go revisit one of these days, because it's a great, basically two-man version, and it's based on a stage play, and it shows, because you're just two guys on a stage, two guys in a room. So that is Sleuth. Number 5, we have a film from 2013 called Delivery Man. It's a Vince Vaughn movie, and written and directed by Ken Scott, who directed the French-Canadian original version that this is based on, called Starbuck. It stars Vince Vaughn, Chris Pratt, Colby Smulders. You've got Bobby Moynihan in there as well, Britt Robertson, Bruce Altman. And it's basically a guy who works as a delivery man, delivers meat around the town. And over the last 20 years, he's made frequent deposits to the sperm bank. And it turns out that he's the father of 553 something kids. And he runs into a problem when 142 of them petition the court. They sue to find out the identity of their father. And it's him. All of them are fathered by him. And it's great because you've got Chris Pratt as one of his friends who has kids, and Colby Smolder as the woman he's involved with. But the real gem of this movie is the man who plays his father, who is Andre Blumenfeld. Plays, because Vince Vaughn plays David Wozniak. His father's is Mikołaj Wozniak, and he has, I'd say at least two amazing monologues in the movie. One that he says to Vince Vaughn, and one that he says to the whole family, including Colby Smulders, are having a big family dinner, and they just get you right here. The guy's a fantastic actor. I don't know what else he's done, but this was amazing. And it's great because he starts interacting with all these kids that are his children. And it's all like just across the spectrum, all sorts of different kids. And yeah, this one is, I think, slipped under the radar as one of his great many fantastic performances. Vince Vaughn, I mean. And another one I haven't seen the original, but Delivery Man. Number 4, we have a film from 2006 called The Last Kiss. This is a film directed by Tony Goldwyn, who's also an actor. Stars Zach Braff, Jacinda Barrett, Casey Affleck, Rachel Bilson, and Michael Weston, Eric Christian Olsen, Marley Shelton, Lauren Lee Smith, Harold Ramis, Blythe Danner, Tom Wilkinson. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And you got Zach Braff and Jacinda Barrett are a married couple, and he's sort of falling into a routine. His life's not that exciting anymore, and he ends up getting involved with a college student played by Rachel Bilson. So he's got that complication. But you've also got Michael Weston, who's hung up on an ex-girlfriend of his. You've got Casey Affleck, who's married to Lauren Lee Smith, and they have a kid, and they're far from a happy couple. Eric Christian Olsen, who's sort of like the player of the group, sleeps around and then gets infatuated with a certain woman. And then you've got Jacinda Barrett's parents, played by Blythe Danner and Tom Wilkinson, who've been married for decades, and Blythe Danner's character just up and decides to leave Tom Wilkinson one day. She doesn't want to be married anymore. She leaves him, wants to live her own life. And he's basically standing firm. He's going to stay there and probably just wait for her to come to her senses. And I think it was the follow-up movie that Zach Braff made after Garden State, the one he wrote, directed, and starred in. And he did some uncredited rewrites in this movie, but this one was written by Paul Haggis primarily. Sorry, I forgot to mention. It's based on an Italian film called L'Ultimo Bacio, directed by Gabriele Muccino, who's directed several movies, one of which was 7 Pounds, one of my favorite Will Smith movies out there. But yeah, this one is fantastic. Stellar performances across the board. The Last Kiss. Number 3 is from 2004 called Wicker Park. And this one, another one of my all-time favorite movies, based on the French film L'Appartement, which starred Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci. This one stars Josh Hartnett, Diane Kruger, Rose Byrne, Matthew Lillard, Jessica Paré, primarily. Yeah. And you basically got Matt and what's her name? Diane Kruger, Lisa. And they meet and fall in love right away. And Matt Lillard plays his best friend. And then one day she disappears. And he doesn't know what happened. And so he ends up leaving, going to New York, and then coming back. And he's got a fiance played by Jessica Biel. And he starts finding evidence that Lisa has come back and she's around. And he ends up meeting up with Rose Byrne, who pretends to be this person named Lisa. Not the one he knew, but he says her name is also Lisa. And I don't want to get too much into this one because the plot can get a little confusing the very first time you see it, so it requires more than one viewing. But if you like the movie as much as I did, you would want more than one viewing. Because it flashes back to his life with Lisa and his present-day search for Lisa, getting involved with Rose Byrne's character, helping out his best friend Matthew Lillard, who has this mysterious new girlfriend who they keep missing. He can't introduce him to his friend. And another one with a fantastic soundtrack. It's one of the ones that got me into Coldplay, because their song "The Scientist" plays at the end of the movie. Now, if you heard me talk about it on the Movie Madhouse podcast, you know what scene I'm talking about. If you don't watch the movie, you'll see what I mean. Yeah. So I will stop there. Fantastic movie. Another fantastic Josh Hartnett performance, but he's a good guy this time. So, Wicker Park. Great supporting performances by everyone as well, especially Matthew Lillard. Number 2, we have a film from 2010 called The Next 3 Days. It is a film directed by Paul Haggis, based on 2008 French film Pour Elle, Anything for Her. And it stars Russell Crowe, Elizabeth Banks, Brian Dennehy, Lenny James, Olivia Wilde, Ty Simpkins, Liam Neeson, Daniel Stern, Kevin Corrigan, Aisha Hines, Jonathan Tucker, RZA's in there, James Ranson. Essentially, you've got Russell Crowe and Elizabeth Banks married with a kid, and she ends up being arrested for murder, and they've got her dead to rights. They've got DNA evidence that ties her to the murder, even though she proclaims her innocence. Russell Crowe, her husband, knows she's innocent but can't prove it, so she goes to jail. And she's not doing well in prison. And so he's trying to prove her innocence, and failing that, he's going to find a way to break her out of prison. And a lot of the movie is him sort of researching all these like criminal activities and methods on ways to break her out of prison somehow and go on the run. And it is intense. Another one where I haven't seen the original, but this movie is, oh my goodness, this movie is so good, so intense. And a stellar Russell Crowe performance. Elizabeth Banks, she's not in it that much because it's focusing on, like, she's in prison, it's focusing on Russell Crowe trying to get her out. But, oh man, it is so good. I'd say definitely my favorite Paul Haggis movie, written or directed. But a lot of what he's done is great. So that's The Next 3 Days. And number 1, the one I rewatched last night, it is a remake from 2015. It's called Secret in Their Eyes. And it's a remake of the Argentinian film of the same name, 2009, but it's called The Secret in Their Eyes. And this one stars Chiwetel Ejiofor, Nicole Kidman, Julia Roberts, Dean Norris, Michael Kelly, who is from Doug Stanhope from House of Cards. He was also Mark Snow in Person of Interest. He's done a ton of stuff. Got Alfred Molina, and you basically got a bunch of people working in counterterrorism unit of the FBI. You got Nicole Kidman. No, she's working for. I think she's an attorney. She works for the district attorney. But you got Nicole Kidman, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Michael Kelly, Dean Norris, all working for the FBI, and they're trying to take down terrorists, and they're surveilling this local mosque. And they get a call that there's a dead body in a dumpster near a bakery, and it turns out to be Julia Roberts' daughter. And they're trying to track down the man responsible. And they end up finding out who it is, and he gets away or he gets let away because he is one of the agent's CI, his snitch, his informant. And it flashes back between 13 years ago and present day, where Chiwetel Ejiofor comes back. He's no longer working for the agency, comes back, and he's in the private sector, and he wants to reopen the case because Julia Roberts' character is still not doing well, hasn't really adjusted well to, over the last 13 years, to having her daughter murdered. And he reconnects with Nicole Kidman, who he's always had a connection with, but she's married to another guy. And you've got him interacting with Dean Norris and Michael Kelly and them. And Chiwetel Ejiofor's character is convinced he's found the guy after 13 years, found the killer of Julia Roberts' daughter, and is investigating him again, and is sure he's got him dead to rights. And just the stuff that unfolds in this movie, in the past and the present, it's just, a nail biter, I guess you'd say, from beginning to end, and just spectacular performances. And it's written and directed, I believe, by Billy Ray, who has done a lot of stuff, a lot more writing than directing. But once he became a director, he just took off from there. So yeah, can't recommend that one enough. I think it's in my top 10 of all time. It's that good, in my opinion. So that was the top 10 remakes. I hope you like this one as well. Like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Toodles.